Hey guys, welcome back to Friends and Enemas with me, your host Lindsay, and who do I have today?
Jared Shelton. I'm back again.
Who are you to me? What if they don't know?
A lot of things.
It's my husband, if you didn't know. But you're actually a fan favorite.
Oh,
Actually.
I'm honored.
You should be like, actually, like, you know you're a fan favorite. But you are. It's quite crazy. I get quite the amount of DMs asking when you're going to be back on. So I figured I'd throw you back into the mix. We've had a lot of amazing guests recently, and we have a lot more to come, but you are also a fan favorite, so I had to throw you back in. And I figured today would be a perfect day to go over our frequently asked travel nurse questions and just kind of give our spiel about travel nursing.
Yeah, I like that. I am pretty passionate about travel nursing, and I'm also a severe over-researcher, so I know more than I need to about it, and I would be happy to share.
Yeah, if you're not a severe over-researcher, but you married one, I feel you. So I posted to my Instagram a little question box for people to ask us questions, and then I also have some gathered from previous question boxes, and then just our own 2 cents on some things here. So I figured we could just jump right in.
Yeah. I'd like do just a rapid fire because I think we have a lot of questions.
Yeah, we do. I'm kind of out of breath though, because if you guys didn't know, I just got back from the emergency vet with my dog Schmidt.
Mm-hmm.
He's a little asshole. But I did get to watch and see how the animal nurses do their triage since it was the emergency vet. We came home from the gym and I couldn't find Schmidt. And if you don't know, we live in an RV. It's not very big. So I was like, my first thought was that somehow he got locked outside or something weird happened. And then we realized that the bathroom door was shut and we said, oh no, he's locked himself in the bathroom.
Which he's done before without an issue. However,
this time, TMI, I'm on my period, and so I knew immediately why he was locked in the bathroom. He's a trash bandit, specifically around this time of the month, and he likes to eat my used tampons because he's disgusting.
Yeah. It's our fault for not having a self-closing.
It's our fault for not child-proofing everything because he's a literal toddler.
Yeah.
So anyway, he ate 4+ used tampons, and we had to take him to the ER, and so we just got back. I'm out of breath, I feel like, because I wanted to get this done earlier, but here we are.
And he got to vomit all morning.
And it was not fun for either of us because my bank account's hurting and his stomach's probably hurting. So
expensive dog.
Anyway, so I figured we just jump right in. You want to start them off with how we started travel nursing?
Yeah. I think you might correct me here, but I think I had my eye on travel nursing before we even went to nursing school, right?
Yep. That's why we went to nursing school.
Yeah. It was kind of something that we decided to do together because we were both interested in healthcare and like taking care of people, interacting with people, stuff like that. We served tables, which had way more carried over than I ever expected. But
Really?
yeah, we planned on travel nursing from the time we went to nursing school. It just seemed like there was no other way to match the amount of freedom you could get with travel nursing. You know, you work when you want, you take off time when you want. If you want days off while you're working, you can work them into your contract. It just seemed kind of unparalleled as far as if you're going into the medical field and you're going into nursing. That seemed like a pretty good branch to go. So did nursing school. I did 2 years in Tulsa, Oklahoma. Lindsay did 1 year, and we pieced out, and we almost didn't go, if you recall.
Pause. We got experience. It sounded like you said you went to nursing school for 2 years. I went to nursing school for 1 year.
Oh, did I say nursing school?
After we graduated, Jared got 2 years of experience. I got 1 year of experience. So we kind of know the whole question on how long should you wait, which we'll get into, but I just wanted to correct that real quick.
Yes. What was I saying?
Sorry.
No, you're fine. I'm glad you corrected it. That would have been confusing. We almost didn't go because we were looking at doing our first contract in March of 2020, which as you remember, was kind of the first month of COVID.
Mm-hmm.
And right before we left, I think our hospital's first COVID
Yep,
case.
you did. Everyone was pregnant on the unit.
Yes, and they like sequestered me into an ante room, and I didn't leave like the whole day.
Yeah, I had
and
to bring you your lunch in the ante room.
Yeah, and so it kind of freaked us out. We were like, should we don't know what this is. We'd already heard that people were dying from it, so we didn't know if we should stay near family and all this. And ultimately, we decided to go. 100%. Whenever we were driving over there, we hauled our whole life, the RV, everything, spent all this money to prep for it. And the first contract I signed, at the time before COVID came along, a good contract in California was like anywhere from $1,700 up to $2,000. That was a good weekly pay. And this contract I signed, I think, was for $3,400 a week. So I was like, yeah, this is fake, but I'll go out here. At the very least, it'll be a cool trip to California. Job's fake.
Yeah.
And then I'll go on about my life, and I can just not question it anymore.
Right.
And lo and behold, it was real. It changed our lives. It's been incredible. The Central Coast was our very first Pismo beach.
Yep.
Yeah.
We I mean, it was pretty crazy because I will never forget us driving out there. We shipped your car out there. At the time, we had someone hauling the RV for us that we paid for. We didn't have a truck. So we shipped your car out there. We shipped the RV out there, and we rode together. And I'll never forget when we were driving past I think we went down through Texas at first and up. But leaving Oklahoma, I was like, I felt this like gut wrenching, like, oh my God, we shouldn't do this. Cause like I've never lived anywhere other than Oklahoma my whole life. And I was terrified. I mean, everyone kind of questioned us, honestly. Everyone was like, you guys don't know what you're doing. You don't know what you're getting into. Even family was concerned that we were up and leaving. Yeah. There was a lot of things trying to hold us back. And it was terrifying. I mean, it was truly scary because at the time also, I wasn't going to be working because I had recently had surgery and I couldn't work for another 6-8 weeks. And so we were going there praying to God that wasn't a fake contract. And luckily it wasn't. Yeah, it was just kind of crazy.
I remember it being a moment whenever we started traveling west, we hit this point that was like further than any of us had been west, and it was like was it when Frodo or Sam leaves the Shire and they stop and they're like, this is the furthest I've ever been.
Yeah, that's what it felt like.
It did kind of feel like that. You had like this like visceral response whenever because you're really about to do it. It's no you're not going like to the next town, you're going 6, 7, 8 states away.
Yeah, it's gonna be a second to get back. And I also remember though, like as we were going, we were just remembering that our manager at the time said, if we want to come back, we always can. And I was like, okay. She said, if we want to come back, she will always allow us back. And so I had that in the back of my mind. Like, if this doesn't work out, we have our foot in the door. And like for everyone listening, even if your manager is like, don't ever come back, there's always a position for you in staff nursing.
Yeah.
I mean, always. So if that's your concern of like, well, what if it doesn't work out? You can get a staff job.
Yeah, that's one thing that I always like to I've heard it called fear setting, but like define the worst case scenario and try to live it out in your head just before you do anything, because it like is this nebulous thing that is always a dark cloud above you and nobody really defines it and looks at it. So worst case scenario, we get out there, it's fake, the job never existed. We had made sure we saved up enough money to get all the way back if we needed to. Absolute worst case scenario, blow out on the way there, blow out on the way back. The job's fake. We get back home and we have our same job with people we love,
right?
And everything's fine.
Right.
So if you can define the worst case scenario and you're still okay with it after that, then you can go into it with a little bit more confidence.
I think so too. Because, man, our unit, that was hard to leave. We had an anomaly, I would say. There's still, every unit has a couple people that are just buttholes, but our unit was truly amazing. I felt friendship, bonds with everyone. My preceptor really took me under her wing. So, like, I was so scared to leave her. And again, I was at 1 year of being a nurse, which I'm going to jump to that as one of our first questions because it's the top question I get asked by nursing students, new grads, is can I just graduate and go into travel nursing? And the answer is no,
Absolutely
absolutely
not.
not. Even if a recruiter is telling you you can, that recruiter does not have your back. You can 100% lose your license that way. And it's very dangerous.
Yeah.
A lot of us thought in nursing school once we graduate that we know what we're doing. And the truth is, you don't. Nursing school is a game. I like to think of it as a game. And you pass go, you finally win, and then you start your actual career.
Yeah,
It's
it's just
not the same.
it's just the whole curriculum is designed to help you pass the test,
Right.
and you get like some physiology and stuff in there, but I
But
would
you don't
say
get real life
easily
things.
90% of nursing you learn after you graduate. You know, you get some basics in nursing school, but
Yeah. So the reason we say, not just me and Jared, the reason the community of travel nurses says you need at least 2 years of experience. And, there's exceptions to every rule, but 2 years experience, that's when you start feeling confident and comfortable in being a nurse. And this is in your specialty. If you're bouncing specialties, you need 2 years per specialty is what I understand.
yeah,
Depends on, I guess, where you're coming from, but
yeah.
but overall you need 2 years experience. And 1 year of experience when I went, I'm so lucky that I had my husband who had just 1 year more of experience, but that whole year is a lot. It's a lot more experience, and so I had someone to lean on and call for questions and text. But my first contract was at a teaching hospital that luckily took in travelers like with open arms. So all my questions were answered. However, we have also traveled to contracts that were not very nice to travelers and didn't want to help you and honestly wanted to see you fail. Had I started there, who knows what could have happened? And so that's why I say you need 2 years of experience minimum. More is better, but 2 years,
Yeah, and it's
literally 2 years.
and it's more than it's not so much it's not just like, do you feel comfortable with the day to day of taking care of patients? You want 2 years because you need to feel confident, and you need to be thinking. It takes that 2 years to be thinking the next six steps. You know,
Critically.
I perform this intervention. What are the next five things that could happen instead of the next thing? Because you don't have time to. You don't know where anything is. You know, you're always a little bit behind. You're trying to remember all their policies and random procedures that they do. And you got to keep in mind the interpersonal stuff. You're making considerably more than any of the staff nurses there. And so if you try to lean on people too hard, a lot of them are not going to appreciate that. They don't want you coming in there and accepting more money and knowing less than them. It's that's just a recipe to have a bad time in your contract.
Yeah, I mean, if you think of it from their point of view, and not everyone's this way, but if you get with the wrong group of staff nurses, if they feel like they're babysitting you, it's not going to be a good contract for you.
Yeah.
If they feel like they're constantly having to step in for you, it's just not a good idea. So you have to feel independently confident and confident in asking questions as well, because you bet your ass we have to ask so many questions as a travel nurse because policies change, medications change,
Yeah.
dosages, everything is so different per hospital, and you have to be confident within yourself as a nurse to be like, okay, I don't know this, I need to ask. I don't care if they think I'm stupid. You have to be confident in that.
Yeah, and there's a certain amount of that. You don't need to know everything. I'm just saying you need to have
Right.
You need to have confidence to make certain decisions.
Right.
You need to have enough confidence that the actual day to day of nursing is kind of
Muscle memory.
muscle memory. Thank you. Yeah, it's kind of muscle memory because you're going to be worrying about their specific charting, their stuff, where the yonker is, where the Pyxis was she, where the dirty,
Purex at.
yeah, where the soiled storage is.
Right.
There, you're going to lose so much time each day to just looking around for stuff. So all your actual nursing things, you need to have them down pat
Right.
pretty well. So that's why they say 2 years, especially during COVID. A lot of recruiters will take you with less and even encourage you with less. But I think that they're doing you a disservice. And I think that if you just get your 2 years, you'll have a much better time travel nursing.
I think so too. What's your favorite place we've traveled and why?
I
Mine
don't-
is a mix of few places.
Yeah, we went a lot of cool. California's just a cool state. There
Yeah.
was so many cool areas, and they all had different feels to them and different things we really enjoyed. I was pretty partial to the Pismo Beach area. I really love the Central Coast,
Yeah.
and maybe it was because our first contract and the honeymoon phase and all that. But I'd go back there anytime.
Yeah.
It was pretty amazing, especially like Avila Beach, just above there.
Yeah.
Um,
Hospital wise, I feel like these people are asking.
oh,
Maybe,
hospitals.
maybe not. I mean, they're just asking favorite places we've traveled and why. So I guess we could go either way with that.
I would say, yeah, that first Pismo, and then the most surprising place that we traveled that I enjoyed was Wichita, Kansas.
Yes. Shout out to my Wichita, Kansas peeps.
Yeah, and we talk about the people. The people were wonderful.
They were.
But the Wichita as a town was actually kind of cool. I mean, it's there's not a ton of like hiking and natural things, outdoorsy type things to do unless you're like a hunter. There was a lot of hunting there. But Wichita was set up nicely. You could get around as much as you want. Nice airport, a nice shopping district, lots of little downtown type stuff to do.
Lots of stuff to eat.
Yeah, I liked it just fine. We had a great RV park.
Yeah.
So.
I liked it too. I mean, cost of living was much lower.
Oh my gosh.
Truthfully, the people, some of my most favorite people I've worked with, and then I made like a lifelong friend through it. I was as well. We were only there for 8 weeks,
Yeah, 8 weeks.
and I liked Wichita a lot. I liked Wichita for the people, but California nursing, it just can't be beat.
Yeah.
And we said from the beginning we were going to start traveling. We were going to stay in California for 6 months, and then we were going to head east. That's what we said. We wanted to see the East Coast also.
And I don't know. That's like a couple of people from Oklahoma. We think that 6 months is probably enough to do all of California, right?
We never been anywhere.
Huge.
It's huge. How do you do
Yeah.
California in 6 months? You can't. But
Yeah.
also, we realized, hold up, you guys get your breaks, mandatory breaks for the most part. I know that not every hospital is the same, but everywhere we've worked, and we've worked at quite a few, I would say 7, 8 different hospitals
Yeah.
in California, and every single one, I got my breaks. Every single one was a union, which was beneficial for the staff. Every single one, ratios were a thing, and there wasn't this constant worry of, am I going to have 3 ICU patients on a vent,
Yeah.
which we had in Oklahoma. And it was very difficult to take care of them. And realizing that not everywhere does nursing the same was pretty mind-blowing for me.
Yeah. Yeah, and that's not getting into the topics of unions and everything. That's a whole
other podcast
separate episode, but just baseline from my experience and the data, nursing is more enjoyable. Patient outcomes are better.
Yep.
There's a stark difference between non-union hospitals and union hospitals from a nursing standpoint.
Absolutely.
It's just not even close.
I mean, I can't get over, for me, patient ratio is top. Top thing I'm looking for. I mean, I can't get over it. I think one of my favorite places we've traveled, non-work, is San Diego. San Diego has my heart. It'll always have my heart. Like, I would love to live in San Diego. Of course, I would love to live in the most expensive city in the U.S.
I mean, just our little spot in Oceanside, 3-minute walk to the beach, nice RV park.
Literally has my heart forever.
Yeah, it's awesome.
But favorite place I've worked, I have like a few different ones. I really loved St. Joseph's in Burbank.
Yeah,
I loved the people I worked with there. I loved USC Keck. I liked that a lot it was a teaching hospital, so it had a lot of residents. It had a lot of resources readily available, and I'd never seen that either. How many times could you turn and there'd be someone right there that you need?
Yeah.
Whether it be a nurse, a CNA, respiratory, whoever you needed was always right there, and it was so convenient. A resident to put in orders.
That's any teaching hospital. I love that you've always got, if nothing else, the interns, they like must have a phone on them and answer it every single time for, it's got, you're kind of paying your dues. And so you can always speak to somebody.
And it's
if
nice.
You can't get the resident, you can get the intern.
Right.
You don't ever talk to the attending. That's a big no-no at a teaching hospital, but it's nice having access to everybody.
Yeah. I didn't get to work in the Central Coast, but I feel like.
And Keck was cool because that was the first like true ICU float that we did.
Yeah.
Because they have like they had like eight ICUs or something like that. And that was
which I
cool. Like,
enjoyed.
yeah, you get to see lots of different
I
critical
learned
care.
so much there.
Yeah, it was an excellent hospital.
I'm kind of just bouncing down these questions because there's a lot of them. How do we save money? And I think I bring this up because we do something different than a lot of people. We chose to live in an RV.
Yeah.
And yes, you have to buy an RV first. You know, people are like, well, how do you get that money to buy an RV? Keep in mind, we bought this RV in 2019 before this lifestyle like blew up. We paid $40,000 for this 41-foot 2018 RV, and it's been the sole reason I think that we've saved so much money because everywhere we've been in California, yes, California's higher cost of living, we have paid a fraction of what people pay for rent or what we would have paid for rent, what we would have wanted.
Yeah, I mean it's probably paid for itself 2 times over
Yeah.
in 4 years. So it's that was one of the decisions we made, and I think the biggest thing we we were pretty cognizant about lifestyle creep because our income whenever we went from staff to travel and then through COVID, the travel rates went up quite a bit. So our income anywhere from like 4 to 10x, depending on what the contract was. And we did a pretty good job of maintaining the same lifestyle while our income grew exponentially. And that just builds in savings because there's money left over,
Right.
and you end up. We paid off $136,000 in debt in like 7 months. Yeah, because we at one point
We were working our asses off.
yeah, we were working a lot and putting every single penny over just our basics, basic necessities. I think at one point I calculated we were putting 91% of our income towards
Loans.
Towards loans. Yeah, and so that was part of it, and just being able to watch your income grow and not immediately want the new car or a new thing or anything. And we had plenty of times we've talked ourselves off the ledge several times from buying new vehicles or a new RV or anything like that.
All the time.
And it's funny that we both like snap out of it at the same time, and we're like,
What are we thinking?
we don't need any of this shit. What are we doing?
Well, I like to throw into like obviously it's a dual income right here, dual income, no kids, and we both know that that's a privilege in itself. That
Yes.
there's two of us, and we have from day one. I don't suggest this for everyone. I don't know. It just happened to work out for us. From day one, we put our money together. What's mine is his. What's his is mine. Literally, all of it.
Even when
It's-
we were dating.
even when we were dating, and again, I don't say that like,
Yeah,
like
not
don't
suggesting.
just go do that.
Yeah.
I don't know. We were dumb, young, and we just did because
There
at
was
the
there was
time
no
it
like
worked.
there was no I don't remember a conversation about it. We just both expected it. Like it
I
just
remember
happened.
a small conversation. It's because we lived together as roommates,
Mm-hmm.
and then we ate the same food, and we went to the same gym.
Mm-hmm.
We did a lot of the same things, and we were like, it's kind of cheaper if we just throw it together and pay from one huge pot. It's what it felt like. But that was the only conversation we ever had, and it was like not even really a conversation. It was more so, you cool with this? Let's do it.
And then I think a big turning point was your ER visit, and we got the bill, and I remember
You
just
said,
being like, well, I just remember being like, man, yeah, we're gonna have to pick up some extra shifts.
But-
you were like, we?
Yeah.
Like, well, yeah, I'm gonna help you pay it. We
Yeah,
gotta-
we were just started dating at that time.
Yeah.
I mean, this was just a couple months in, and I had a ER visit for a kidney stone, and
I wasn't gonna go in. Yeah, I felt a little bit responsible for it for other reasons, but
anyway, so I went to the ER visit with $800 ER bill.
yeah.
As a freaking 20-year-old college student, I was like, it was detrimental for me. I was bawling.
Yeah,
my eyes
it
out.
might as well have been $1 million bill.
Oh my god,
at that
it
time.
was so much money.
Yeah.
But going back to dual income, no kids, we've always put our income together, and so I think that's another part of it. So. I understand that there's people out there that are like, well, I don't have a spouse, or me and my spouse don't put our finances together. Well, then it's going to look a little different, of course. But I guess I would say just divide it by 2,
Yeah, and I understand that our situation is not the standard situation.
Right.
Not having kids and doing the RV and stuff like we do some kind of weird stuff. But,
Right. But you asked, and
it
this
gives
is
you
how we do it.
it gives you guidelines of how we managed what we do.
Okay, we already talked about, can you travel as a new grad? The answer is no, absolutely not. You need 1 to 2 years. How to get started. So I fully think that you should be Okay, so let's just do a little timeline. Let's say in January you figure out that you want to start travel nursing. Highly recommend talking to a recruiter right away, because your first time travel nursing, it's overwhelming.
Yeah.
Honestly, there's so much going on with it. There is certifications you need to find. Sometimes they want your diploma. Sometimes they want your licensure. Sometimes they want a resume. They want all kinds of like physical exam. They want so much stuff that the first email you get, you're like, at least me, I was like, I don't know if I want to do this. I think I changed my mind.
Even before that, you need to decide on which state you potentially want to travel nurse to. You need to see, like, we're from Oklahoma, so we have a nursing compact license. So that opens up, I don't know, it's 30 something states at this point, maybe. So that gives you a bunch of states, but a lot of the more desirable places, California, Oregon, New York, Washington just went compact, which is cool.
Yeah.
But some of the states, you have to get their state licensure, and
that could take some time.
It takes time, and California specifically is pretty expensive, so there's a little bit of prep work out there, and there's a fingerprinting process that you got to mail in, and it takes a certain amount of weeks, or you can fly out there and do it in person, and it takes less time. So there's lots of stuff like that you need to look up specific to the state that you want to travel in.
And sometimes agencies will pay for your license, but sometimes they won't. So it's important to remember that they might not reimburse you and they might not pay for it. But also on top of that, remember that eventually that money comes out of your paycheck in the first place.
Yeah.
Like, they're going to somehow get that money back from you. It's not like they're just giving you a free licensure. They're going to take it out of your contract. Yeah. So just think about things like that. But I like to say, like, I have my favorite recruiters and agencies that I've ever used. Believe me, there are some that are not on this list. They're always in my Instagram story highlights. They're going to be linked below in the description of the podcast on whatever platform you're listening to. And I'm putting that there so that you understand, like, I have dealt with some awful recruiters, and they are not in that list because they suck.
Yeah.
These 3 recruiters we have been with for 4 years now. Yeah, 4 years now. Yeah. And I've bounced between the 3 of them because they always are competitive. They can hold your hand if you're a new travel nurse, and if you're experienced and you're like, hey, just submit me to this and then leave me alone, they can do that too. These recruiters, your recruiter will make or break your contract.
Yeah.
And we have had several where we're like, this wasn't a good idea to sign with this person. They don't care about me. They don't care about my license. Yeah. These 3 very much care about me. And that's why I know that they'll care about you too. So they'll be linked in the description and also in my Instagram story highlights.
Yeah. And there's a ton of finer points, and maybe contract negotiation and stuff like that is better for another publication. But there's you could talk all day about different, what you want to look for, what you don't want to look for, what you need in a contract, what you want to watch out for in a contract, stuff like that. But high level stuff, like getting started travel nursing, you need to find an agency, and you need to get licensed, and then just start gathering all of your usual. You're going to need your BLS. If you're critical care, you need your ACLS, PALS if you're going that route. All the different types of licenses that you need. And then surprisingly, in our experience, further certifications, your CCRN, there's one for emergency medicine, there's one for everything. But for us in critical care, it's your CCRN. They do not care.
No.
One bit. They won't pay you anymore. You maybe, if you're side by side with in front of a manager and they're looking at 2 different ones and you have your CCRN, maybe they pick you. But as far as pay, there's absolutely no difference.
Nope. Also, people ask, do you have to have your BSN? Nope. Jared and I both have our ADN. Yeah. We've never had an issue. There is one hospital that I know of in California that just doesn't even look at your resume if you don't have your BSN. That's one hospital. Yeah. We haven't tried to apply there. We've never been denied because of our ADN.
Yeah, they exist. There's hospitals out there that only take BSN, but you still have
far between, though.
95% of the hospitals in the nation will take you with an ADN. They don't care.
Right. Yeah. But that was like a huge thing I heard about, like, when we first started, was that no one's going to take you guys. What are you thinking? And I'm like, no one said anything. I'm kind of wanting to ask for forgiveness later. Like, I'm not going to bring it up to them by any means.
Yeah.
How to find a recruiter. this is, you know, if you don't want to use the description or the links that I provide for you, I'm going to tell you right now, if you just go Google it, I already know the two travel nurse agencies that are going to pop up, and I'm not going to say them, but if
Yeah.
you Google it, you'll see them. They prey on new travelers, and they're going, when I say prey, like PREY, they prey on you because you
Mm.
don't know what you're doing. You don't know how to negotiate. You don't know, you just don't know. You don't know
Yeah.
what you don't know. And those agencies I have found, I've worked with one of them myself, and you're a number. You're a number to them.
Yeah, and it's through all of our travels and everything. We one big thing that you do talk about that agencies, the hospitals don't like, but you absolutely should, and you should not listen to them, is talk about your pay.
Yep.
Share your
Amongst each
pay
other.
with your other travelers. Always talk about pay. Whenever during COVID, there were contracts we were on that the discrepancy, the pay range between, then this is all for the same job in the same exact same unit, the pay range was as high as $1,300 per week.
Difference.
Yeah, you multiply that by 13 weeks. I mean, you're losing $20,000.
Thousands of
Yeah,
dollars.
it's
And
crazy.
especially during COVID, I feel like some of my recruiters I had would threaten me. Don't talk about your pay or
Yeah,
else. Or else what? That's a federal law that protects us from, we're, as an employee, you're allowed to talk about your pay federally
yeah,
all over the United States. So don't let anyone bully you into not talking about your pay. That is how we all get more money. Me
yeah.
and Jared helped several people because we tended to have the highest contracts on the unit almost every time, and we would send them our contract. Look, this is what ours looks like. Tell your recruiter or bounce out because
Yeah.
that is absolutely ridiculous. You're the one putting in the hard work, the 12 minimum 12 hours a day. You're the one literally doing all the hard work of the bedside.
Yeah.
I'm not saying what they do is not hard work as well, but like it's mentally, physically, spiritually taxing on you. Get your freaking bag. Like
Yeah.
do not leave it behind.
Yeah, and it is 100% used car sales. If your best weapon and your saving grace is knowledge. You have to go in with more knowledge or they will take advantage of you because in the end of the day it's their paycheck too. You know,
Right.
whatever they can take off your contract is more that they make. It's how it works. It's how it's always worked. So you need to go in with knowledge. You need to fight hard for your pay. You need to talk to your other coworkers and see what they're making.
Right.
And there's a lot more that we can go into on pay and stuff like that. But
Yeah, that could be a whole nother episode on like how to negotiate a contract. But the easiest way to start negotiating is to be with multiple agencies. That's why I stay up to date and my profile's up to date with 2 to 3 agencies. Because if one sends me a contract for Los Angeles at this hospital and it's $3,500 a week, and then I get another one from a different agency that's $2,700 a week, I could say, hey, this agency just offered me the same position or in the same area of location. Doesn't have to be the same hospital. I'm looking at this contract in Los Angeles for 3,500.
yeah.
Can you match? Or I'm gonna go with this one. That's the best way to negotiate, in my opinion, is just to have it right there in front of your face with 2 to 3 different agencies.
Yeah, and as Lindsay said, you know, she's got a list, like a short list of recruiters that she likes, and if you want to like steal our time, steal our experience, go with one of those recruiters, and save yourself the headache. You know, it's we've vetted these recruiters, we've been with the bad recruiters, you know, we've had recruiters where we kind of got taken for a ride, things like that, and so these are ones that we've worked with several times and we feel comfortable with and stuff like that. So
They're great options.
yeah, it's better than a Google search will bring you, like she said, to one of 2 agencies, and they consistently pay
A fraction.
30 to 40% lower than standard.
Yep. Next question is, do they provide housing or insurance benefits? And the answer is yes. But
Yeah, they provide housing. We'll start with housing. They provide housing, but almost universally, nurses do not take the housing that they provide. I've heard some horror stories. You know, I'm sure there's some places that they give you good housing, but you care way more about your living situation than they do. So just take the stipend, find your own housing,
Yep.
find something you're going to enjoy. It's hard work, so you should enjoy the place that you're living.
right.
And then, what was it?
Tax or
Insurance.
insurance.
Insurance, I don't like to you need to have as few strings tied to these agencies as possible. You want to be able to change agencies at the drop of a hat. So we took private insurance, private health insurance. That way, our insurance was not at all dependent on them. We don't take their 401k. I don't care about their sick time they give you. These are all things just to anchor you down to a certain agency. Mm-hmm. And once they get you anchored down, they can kind of mess with how much you're paid. Mm-hmm. So staying as a free agent, taking private insurance, to me, has been the absolute best way to get the best pay possible.
Yep. So I can also link the girl we use, Maddie. She's fantastic. We've been with her also for 3 years now, I think, once we decided to switch over to private insurance. And yes, we pay a little bit more than you would with your typical benefits from an agency. However, we prioritize our freedom with our schedule the most. Mm-hmm. So that being said, when we end a contract, I don't have to pick up one within 30 days to keep my benefits with that agency. I can pick up one 6 months from now if I freaking want, because I have private insurance. So to me, that costs less than the original. Mm-hmm. So we like to go that route, and I can leave her information there as well, because sometimes it's hard to find. Honestly, adulting's hard. It's hard to figure it out when you don't really know and you've never been there. So been there, done that. Mm-hmm. And I'll put that in the description for you guys as well. Taxes. This is something we're still learning, honestly. Taxes, along with the whole myth of how far away in miles do you have to be considered travel. So these actually go together, and the whole 50-mile rule is made up. That's not a real thing. That's not even in the IRS statement. The truth is the IRS is very vague about what it should be. But the idea around what gets you tax-free stipends, because that's what you're looking for when you're a traveler, are tax-free stipends. That's gonna make your freaking bank account right there. Mm-hmm. Is you have to be far enough away that it makes sense for you to have to stay the night somewhere else, to duplicate your housing to work at this job.
Yeah, it's
very confusing. They do that on purpose.
Yeah, we're talking about legal matters and stuff like that. They use this phrase, what a reasonable person would do. Mm. And they leave it, I don't know why they leave it so vague or what a reasonable person is, but do you reasonably need to pay to stay the night somewhere? And that's where you get into this kind of, what is reasonable? It comes down to, if you get audited, the agent that you talk to. So right. it's just use your brain. They say 50 miles because I guess that's what felt reasonable to the person that started that.
Yeah. But that's not in legal writing. It doesn't say 50 miles anywhere. But that confuses a lot of people because they literally calculate how far away the hospital is from their house. Yeah. And that's not right. It is, if you're going to work as a nurse 12 hours, mm-hmm. 13 hours, 14 hours, a shift somewhere, and drive home safely, how far away would that be? It has to be further than that for you to get the tax-free stipend. So, obviously, Jared and I, this is our example, and I give you guys this so that you understand where we're coming from. We own a home in Arkansas. We pay our mortgage in Arkansas. We have the RV, because people get real confused when they're like, well, the RV, is that a duplicate expense? Yes. We have the RV. We already bought the RV, but at the time, that's still a duplicate expense. That's another payment I'm having to make. Also, we have to pay to park the RV. Yes. You don't have to maximize your stipends. People get very confused on the stipend amount. So let's say your tax-free stipend is $2,000. That doesn't mean you have to find somewhere to house for $2,000. That's your duplicate. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. Is this making sense? Because it needs to make sense for the listeners.
Yeah, I'm a little less sure on that part.
I'm very sure because I had this conversation with a tax consultant.
Oh, with the guy you met with?
Yes.
Okay, I wasn't sure if you get a $2,000 housing stipend and your housing's not $2,000.
It's okay. It's not, the IRS is not concerned about that.
It's just a reasonable amount to give you.
This is a reasonable amount to give you for an allowance is pretty much what the stipend is. Here's this tax-free stipend. We're going to say in this area, it's about $2,000 to rent. Yeah. So we're going to give you that amount. If you find cheaper, good job. So that's kind of what it is. So we find that RV life is cheaper than the typical renting from somewhere.
Especially in California.
especially in California. So we use the tax-free stipend for housing, but then we get to pocket a lot of it because it's not used with that housing rent.
Yeah.
Also, your first, you're duplicating your housing expenses. The first one does not have to be a mortgage. It can be rent. It can be splitting a mortgage. It can be whatever is of fair market value where you're from. So a lot of people like to use their parents' house, and that's fine and dandy up until you're going to get audited. You have to be paying rent to your parents in a fair market. So you don't get to just pay them $50 because they're your parents. If they were renting out to some stranger, what would they charge them? That's what it has to be.
Yeah, and yes, the government knows if you're like
If they're handing it back
PayPaling
to
your
you.
parents, and then there's another transaction going back to your bank account, they're gonna figure it out.
Yeah,
So
because
just
remember, if you are doing this way with your parents and you're paying them rent, if they're not using that as income on
they
their
claim it.
taxes, if they get audited, they're screwed, and so are you. So just be careful with that type of stuff. But that's kind of the whole deal with taxes.
Moral of the story: consult a tax professional. Don't listen to our ramblings.
It's a ramble because they've made it so confusing. But
Yes.
I am also going to link my tax girl. She's fantastic. She works with travel. She works with she works with traveling professionals all the time, not just traveling medical professionals. She knows what she's doing. She's been doing this for 20 plus years. I'll link her information as well because you want to have a tax consultant that understands our job. If you don't, they're going to be very confused. Our first year traveling, they did not know what they were doing, and it was made our taxes very confusing, and I don't even know if they were right.
Yeah,
you know?
and a good just general resource if you have some generalized questions is traveltax.com. They just do travel nursing. That's their specialty.
Yeah.
They're a very good resource. There's people you can talk to. They have this big long worksheet you can go through that helps you think of every single thing that you could possibly deduct, what states you worked in, all the complicated stuff if you bounce around states quite a bit.
Yep. And then I'll also leave our girl Narmina. I'll leave her information in the description as well. What specialties can travel nurses work in? Anything.
All of them.
All of them. Yeah. I would say the only one I don't see a ton of is dialysis.
There's dialysis travel.
I said
harder
I don't see
to
a ton
find.
of. I don't see a ton of it. But also I'm not looking for it because I'm not a dialysis nurse.
Yeah.
There's always ICU positions. There's always med surge positions. Holy shit. And there's always ER positions. The things that are more seasonal that I've noticed are PICU. Or any type of pediatrics. It's more seasonal, whereas in the winter I see a lot more of them. Labor and delivery seems a bit seasonal. I'm not saying that you won't find them all year round, but seasonal in terms of they're paying really good.
Yeah.
It seems like fall, winter, labor and delivery is popping off.
Yeah, OR also seems to come in spurts. Like I'll look and they're just paying extraordinary amounts for OR nurses, and then like I won't see a job for months.
Yeah.
So it's I don't know much about OR though.
Yeah. But I always see med-surg, ER, and ICU.
Yeah. Yeah. ICU is kind of the like foot soldier of travel nursing. People love to hire ICU nurses because hospitals, they see you as a nurse that can float anywhere in the hospital, because if you can do ICU, you can do med surg, which is not the case. Oh my God.
This is me strangling whoever had that idea.
Yeah. They are separate specialties. Med surg nurses are superheroes. I don't know how they do it.
Stop sending me ICU nurse to med surg. I am literally losing it every single time I'm there. It is not the same.
That many patients don't fit in my brain. I don't.
No. And med surg is this freaking specialty. I'll scream it from the rooftop. It's its own specialty. If I didn't start there, I don't know what the fuck I'm doing down here.
Yeah.
I'll be looking like a damn person that don't know what she's doing. That's all I gotta say.
Well put.
I just don't want to offend anybody, so I just be looking crazy down there. Don't know what I'm doing.
Yeah. What was the question?
Oh,
we kind of went on a rant there.
Yeah, I got scared. What specialties can nurses travel in?
Oh yeah, yeah. It's any specialty at all, and that's what's so cool about travel. I mean, we talked to nurses that have done international travel nursing, have gone to Australia,
Guam,
Canada, Guam. Yeah, you can go almost any like English speaking country. You can fairly easily travel to, from what I understand.
Yeah, I'm actually going to be interviewing a travel nurse couple from Canada because I get that question all the time. I'm from the Philippines. I'm from Canada. I'm from here, here, here. How do I start travel nursing in America? And I'm like, damn, I don't know because I
Yeah.
just already live here, so I don't know. So we're gonna get to the bottom of that too. Local versus travel versus agency versus internal. What the hell is all this?
I'm.
I've got kind of a good thing, I think.
I'll go for it.
So travel nursing is an umbrella term. Travel nursing is tax-free stipends. That's how we view it. So when we're travel nursing, we want tax-free stipends. So we have to duplicate our expenses, our housing expenses.
Yeah.
That's travel nursing. Local, you do not get tax-free stipends. You are staying at your house. Your one payment of rent or mortgage. You stay in that location, and you can travel locally wherever they need you. I don't know how far that is, but locally. You don't have to duplicate your expenses, so you do not get tax-free stipends. You get taxed stipends. Agency is not a travel nurse. It is kind of what local traveling is, from what I understand. But I could be wrong, so you guys might come after me for that. I believe it's very similar. You're with an agency. They call you that morning and say, "Hey, this hospital needs you. Can
Per
you come
diem.
in?" It's like it, but you're not staff, so it's not per diem. It's your third party.
I see it as like care rev. These where you're third party.
Yeah.
A shift pops up. You take the shift.
Yeah,
You
I would
work
say
the
that's
shift.
probably agency.
It could be at a number of hospitals.
Yeah. And then you have internal. Internal traveling is becoming very big because they want to cut the travel nurses. They
Yeah.
want to cut that really big expense for travel nursing. So they have internal travel. All that means is you are a quote unquote travel nurse at one hospital in their system. So you're not going to get tax-free stipends.
Yeah.
You're going to get taxed stipends.
I think they did it in part as a response to the kind of unprecedented freedom that travel nursing offered, and these hospitals, especially during COVID, they were losing tons, just bleeding staff the whole time. So they built an internal travel structure where I think you take like a 13-week contract.
Yep.
And you can go off, you can go on, and it gives you a little bit of that freedom that you get with travel nursing. But they found that a lot of people, more than wanting to actually travel, they just want that type of work agreement.
Yep.
And so they offered it, and it's become very popular.
Yep. And internal, you don't get benefits, from what I understand.
Correct. Yeah.
So you have to seek out your own. But we do that anyway. So already went over the myth of 50-mile radius. That's a myth. It's not exactly true, but they make it very confusing. Do we get a say on what shifts we work? AM, PM, scheduling, etc.
AM, PM. Yeah. We
We personally apply only to AM positions. 'Cause that's
yeah,
what we work
and
as
sometimes
daytime.
to our own detriment. We do not work PM shifts. It doesn't work for either one of us. We don't want to. So we say, we tell our recruiter, give us day shift only. That's all we want to see. Just day shift, just ICU. And that seems to be what works best for us.
I have heard horror stories of, like, one of my friends is from New York. She drove all the way down to Los Angeles for an AM position. When she got there for orientation, they had her written down as PM. That is snaky, and I do not care what they say if it was an accident. That's snaky shit right there. You don't do that to somebody dropping their whole life to come work for your ass and then be like, oh, actually, we only have PM positions. And so now she's stuck in PM. That is the minority of what happens, I would say.
Which is another good travel tip. If you're worried about this and you're traveling a long ways, maybe whatever state you plan on landing in, go to a major metropolitan area. Because then if something bad happens, they cancel your contract. It's night shift. It doesn't exist. There's 30 other hospitals. If you drop yourself in LA, you're going to find a contract.
Yep.
You just are.
Oh, yeah. So overall, yes, we get to pick. Scheduling wise, that truly depends on whoever's managing your schedule. Sometimes you get to pick, sometimes you don't. I will say 8 times out of 10, we've been allowed to pick our schedule.
Yeah, for the most part, we've been able to pick our schedule. And we do something a little bit unique that I don't think most do. As soon as we get on a contract and we're talking to the scheduling manager, we say, hey, I know in our experience, most hospitals have trouble staffing the weekends. We're more than happy to work the weekends because, we're not near family.
Yeah.
And in California, doing anything on the weekend just sucks.
Shit show.
Yeah, there's so many people around. So I would rather work the weekends and then do all of our stuff on weekdays.
Yep.
And they're usually pretty thankful for that type of thing because it is hard to staff the weekends
Yep.
with your regular staff.
And if you have trips in your contract, a lot of times before you sign, you can tell your recruiter, hey, during this time, I need off. And the hospital will give you an amount of time that you're allowed to have off, like 5 days or 1 week total or something like that.
Yeah, RTO. They'll refer to it
Requested. Yeah.
as RTO, and you'll see some contracts, especially around the holidays, around Christmas, New Year's, all those.
They won't
They'll
allow
say
it.
in bold, no RTO.
Yeah.
And that should be something you watch. It doesn't mean you shouldn't do the contract. Just know that you're going to be working the holidays most
Yeah, I
likely.
mean, that's why they're hiring you, is because they need help during that time.
Depending on the hospital, though, like this hospital, they scheduled us to work Christmas and New Year's, and that's like why they hired us. They said, we need you for these holidays, and it turns out their union gets double time for working holidays, so we weren't scheduled either one because everybody
Which
wanted to
just
work.
annoyed the shit out of me because I would have made
Yeah,
plans to go home.
we could have gone home.
I was like, okay, guys, I understand why you. No, I don't understand why you told us we have to work those holidays when you already knew your damn staff was gonna gobble it all up, which is
Yeah.
fine. If I was staff, I'd do that too.
Yeah, props to
My
them.
point is, I wanted to go home.
Yeah.
I didn't get to. So scheduling, it just depends on where you're at. What are some red flags and green flags for an assignment?
Red flags for an assignment. A lot of
They're
some-
very subjective.
Yeah, sometimes high pay can, you're there to fill staffing needs. You're there because they can't retain enough staff. That doesn't mean it's a bad hospital at all. It just means that for their financial structure, they're better off hiring groups of travel nurses to fill the last 30% of their staff. So it's not necessarily a red flag. Most of the red flags, unfortunately, show up after you get there.
Yep. You don't typically know about them beforehand unless you're on our app, Scrubstr. Mm-hmm. We've got an app that we both developed, but honestly, Jared is the brains behind all of it. He had this idea very early on. It is called Scrubstr, Scrub, STR. Name might be changing in the future, but that's what it's called right now. And it is an app that you can anonymously review and rate hospitals and agencies that you've worked for. So if you get a contract at USC Keck and you're like, I've never heard of this agency, let's go on Scrubster and see what people are saying about it, or your recruiter doesn't have any information about it, you can go on there and see what people are saying about it. There's a box for subjective information, but then there's some like very good objective information that you need to know.
There's things like what onboarding is like, physician interaction, what there is to do around the hospital. Do you feel safe at the hospital? Things like that.
EMS.
So there's more, a little bit more directed stuff because most. Yeah,
Sorry, I said EMS.
it's like
EMS.
they're usually pretty
I
nice.
meant EMR.
But yeah, that's what it all kind of was born from, going to one of these hospitals and having just a train wreck assignment. And there's no way to know. You can go to the Facebook groups and stuff like that, but a lot of times it's like, this charge nurse was a bitch and blah, 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 blah. It's just not helpful. No. I appreciate you letting us know, but it's not super actionable. So I wanted something with a little bit more structure so we could all understand what exactly we were going into working some of these contracts. And, there's lots of stuff like, we'll give you what the scrub color is. We'll give you what the charting software is. Lots more to come. And if you are concerned about it, so GSA, your tax-free stipends is another big thing, and the GSA website is extremely hard to navigate. So we pulled all the data onto Scrubster and made it super simple. You just type in the city you're going to and it'll tell you your stipends along with a paycheck calculator. So check it out.
Pretty awesome app, if I do say so myself. But that's how you can find some red or green flags. I mean, there's great reviews, there's also really shitty reviews on there. But it's hard to know until you're already there, to be honest, because sometimes you just don't know. I mean, but I would say when you get there, you're going to know if your unit's toxic or not. And also what's a red flag for you might not be a red flag for me. If I have a unit with, some bullies on the unit, I know I'm going to be there for 13 weeks. And I check that in my head. Now, it could be really bad or it doesn't have to be that bad. I stay the hell away from them. That to me, that's a big red flag. However, I'm not staff. I'm not signing on to this place full time.
Yeah.
That's their own problem. And I've learned in the past that typically staff doesn't care to hear about their bullies. So I just stay to myself and I do my thing. But to you, a red flag might be the cafeteria food sucks. It just depends on what your red flags would be. So it's kind of hard to answer.
Yeah. I need a hospital that has a bathroom that's very secluded 'Cause,
That's your red flag.
nervous pooper, you know.
Okay, PSA. If you're working with me, just by chance, and you're waiting for the bathroom and you see me come out of it, turn the other way. Please go find a different bathroom. Do not
Yeah,
walk in there
you're
right after that.
no, you're wild. You'll just go and blow up like the
I'll
staff
blow
bathroom
up the damn
right
bathroom.
right by where everybody's charting.
Okay, excuse me. I had to poop.
Yeah.
And I got from, if you see me leave the bathroom from 9 a.m. to 11 a.m., do not go in there after me. You are
What's the next
bad
question?
news. How long does it take to feel comfortable with traveling? Your face.
What?
You're just like,
Yeah, I think it took a few contracts. My first contract, I was super nervous just
Yeah.
because you want to do a good job. You're nervous about like crashing and burning, worst case scenario, all this and that. We started at kind of a unique time. It was, COVID was just like ravaging the country, and so everything was different. Nobody knew where anything was because they had just retrofitted all of their units to be COVID units.
yeah.
So it was a little bit different. So by the time I came out of that, I was pretty comfortable with travel nursing, and you'll find that the hospital changes, the people change, the personalities don't change, which is wild.
So weird.
It's the
You got
exact same
five
set.
people.
You have the same set of personalities. They just the names change, but the policies change. There's hospitals that do some wacky stuff here and there, but the core nursing, how you take care of humans, that never changes. So once you get that down, you can feel pretty comfortable at any hospital, and you'll catch on within the first few weeks what they're really trying to audit and hammer down on charting, and just make sure you kind of do your best to go along with the program there.
I would tail end on that. I would add, I don't think that's a phrase. I would add that you feel comfortable, the most comfortable when you're comfortable with being uncomfortable, because
Yeah, that's a good point.
because you're never going to know these people's policies. I don't care. 13 weeks, I'm not going to know your damn policies. And it's so crazy. They're like, you've been here since May, or whatever. You've been here for 10 weeks. And I'm like, huh? I've been floated to every other unit. Of course,
Yeah.
I don't. That's the last thing on my mind is your damn policy. Because
Yeah.
policies change at every hospital. Therefore, it's not law. And so to me, it doesn't make any difference to soak that up in my brain.
Yeah.
When my brain's trying to focus on where the important things are, like the crash card, or what happens if this patient, who do I call? Do we have a rapid response? Do we have a stroke alert? Do we, that type of stuff versus,
Yeah.
I mean, even code colors change.
Yeah.
Code silver and code gray and like shit like that changes. And you're like, damn, this should be a nationwide norm. Like it should be normal nationwide, but it's not. And so I feel like the more comfortable you are with being uncomfortable, the better off you'll be.
Yeah, and that's a good point just for travel nursing in general, because it's, we early on we would get super stressed, like where are we going to live? We haven't found an RV park yet. We don't know about this place. We don't know about this place, but you just have to realize be okay with anything happening.
Mm-hmm.
If you can be flexible, you can handle travel nursing. That's most people don't do it because there's so much uncertainty in travel nursing in all parts of it, and your contract can be canceled at a moment's notice.
Yep.
So.
And that's why travel nursing is not for everyone, but you're not going to know most likely if it's for you until you do it, because everyone's so different. And, Jared brings up that point too, that if you don't have a savings account of some sort, that if they were to cancel you, can you make your next month's rent and typical utility bills and whatnot? Are you going to be okay? Because I would say, backing way up to one of the first questions, before you travel nurse, you need to have a safety net of some sort, some type of savings. And that's hard to do before traveling sometimes.
Yeah, I always called it an escape rope fund, because I
Yep.
gotta nerd out a little bit. In Pokemon, whenever you get into a dungeon, hear me out. You get into a dungeon and you get far into it and you need out.
Pikachu!
Not really, but you use an escape rope. And so the escape rope fund, if all else fails, the world falls apart, just have enough money to get back home and to or to some place where you feel like that you can attain a staff job or whatever.
Yeah. No, I like that analogy. I like Pokemon too. I'm just kidding.
Yeah, I heard.
What did you learn or do different after your first contract? We're getting to the end.
Oh man, that was a long time ago.
I know
Let's
what I
see.
did.
We locked our bikes up differently after our first contract.
Yeah, guys, our bikes got fucking stolen.
Yeah.
Pismo Beach, I remember. I'll never forget.
Hooligans.
Never forget.
Yeah. But after the first contract, a lot of it was like timing on when we start looking for our next contract.
Mm-hmm.
You want to start a full month early because it's maybe more, because by the time you negotiate the contract, find out if you got the job, you do all the not credentialing. What am I trying to?
Yeah, it's a credentialing.
By the time you jump through all the hoops and do all that stuff, a solid month has gone by. So you need to start early and get that contract locked down, especially if you're trying to chain them together directly and you don't really want weeks off, or you want a week off at most. For the most part, we chained a few together, but for the most part, we would take a month, several weeks off between contracts.
Yep.
But you kind of learn as you go. I think that was the biggest thing after the first contract. As far as like nursing care, I didn't change all that much. It's you're going to kind of get in the groove of things. You're going to realize that most hospitals run largely the same, and some of the small stuff you can catch on to fairly quickly.
Yeah. I would say something pretty easy that I changed is I made a folder on my Google Drive and labeled it Nurse Hire Pack, and it has everything I need in it.
Yeah.
From, like I said, from the beginning, all the things that you're gathering for your first contract, you're going to need those for your next contracts. But the reason it's so hard the first time is because you don't have it all together. Make a Google folder or some type of online folder with all of that information in it. I did that after my first contract.
Yeah, maybe we'll drop some sort of list on how to make a new hire packet, because it's so much easier whenever because the timing is really important on this stuff, especially if you're in something competitive. Like ICU days is one of the more competitive positions. Positions can fill in 40 minutes.
Yep.
Like,
that's why it's important to have your profile up to date with these agencies.
So have your profile up to date and make it where you can build a new profile quickly, because there's a lot of recruiters that will build a quick profile for you and submit right away and then fill out the rest of your profile afterwards. So just being able to drop that new hire packet in an email and send it, I can do that in 15 seconds and I'm ahead of everybody else because you have all the information out to them quickly.
Next question is what to do if your placement is absolutely horrible. And this is again going to be more of a personal situation. If and horrible is different to everyone. If my place was absolutely horrible, I know that my situation right now, I can leave it and I'm going to be financially just fine. So it depends, obviously. However, I would start by going to your recruiter, telling them what's happening. Hey, just so you know, X, Y, and Z is happening on the unit. I don't feel comfortable with it. If it continues, I don't know if I can do this. Yeah. You want to keep a paper trail, though, because I don't know what this could possibly mean, what's horrible, but you want to keep a paper trail, whether that be emails, text messages, anything you say verbally. Make sure you send a summary in a email and send it to your personal email so that you have this stuff in writing, because that might be saving you in the end of, depending on, what is horrible about your placement. If you get fired, all kinds of things could happen, but it depends. It just depends. Also, is it worth burning a bridge? That's something I always think about. Is this worth getting DNR'd from this facility? A lot of times, yeah. Sometimes it is. Sometimes you don't care. But if it's not worth burning a bridge, just remember, take it day by day. You're there for a very short amount of time in the grand scheme of things.
Yeah. I mean, first and foremost, it's 13 weeks. So try your best to tough it out. That's not a rule for everybody. If there's bullying or anything like that, or
if your license
you've got personal stuff going on, there's lots of different situations. But just realize that in the end, if you talk to your recruiter and you explain what's going on, there's a lot of agencies out there. What can be a little more dangerous is if you're working for a major hospital system like Kaiser. Leaving a contract early could mean you don't work for any Kaisers anymore.
Yeah.
That's not across the board. I've heard of people leaving Kaisers and still being okay. But, you just got to weigh your pros and cons. And in the end, there's a million agencies. There's thousands and thousands of hospitals. I don't like the whole just like leaving willy-nilly, or it seems popular to call in your last shift, and I just don't get the point. It's one shift and you're burning a bridge. Like it's kind of short-sighted. But if the contract is truly horrible, just like Lindsay said, talk to your recruiter, make sure they know, what's going on. And in the end, if you have to leave, you have to leave. And they're just going to have to understand that. Look out for, especially whenever you're negotiating your contracts. I've seen this more as of late, but don't ever sign a contract that has an early termination cancellation fee or a penalty or anything like that, because they're starting to do that where it can be up to like $5,000 if you leave your contract early.
Which is wild.
Yeah, that should never be a thing. And these they call these contracts, but it's more of a work agreement, and we carry the vast majority of the risk, and it can be terminated at any time unilaterally. So it's just be real careful. A good contract, my contracts with lead health staff is the one that I've used the most. My contracts with them are like a page. It's like 9 bullet points, and it's so super simple. Yeah, there's no reason for any more than that.
I would say the one place we've had issues at, we were contracted for 6 weeks. We had multiple issues with bullying, with unsafe, not ratios, just unsafe assignments. The hospital didn't really know what to do with stroke. I mean, there was all kinds of red flags.
Yeah.
And we just made a conscious decision. We are here for 6 weeks, and then we are flipping done. And they asked us to extend, and we both told them absolutely not. I would never go back to that hospital because it was so unsafe for patients, for staff, for everyone around. I mean, it just wasn't a good place. So, but we made the conscious decision to say, okay, we're just not going to extend here.
Yeah. You're gonna have some that you don't care for, and they won't always be complete train wrecks where you feel like you're gonna run away. There'll just be some that like you just don't vibe with the staff or how they do things at the hospital. So that happens.
Piggybacking on that, how do others treat you, staff versus travel? There's a big idea that staff hates travel, and I've only had that experience one time where it seemed like all the staff like had a little huddle in the morning on how to be mean to the travelers, and that was the same place I just said I would never re-sign there. Overall, staff is so happy that you're there to help them. A lot of times they're drowning without you. So I mean, to me, if I was staff and someone was coming in to help me, and whether they make 3 times as much as me or not, I'd be just happy that my ratios are still appropriate. I mean, a lot of times staff does not care. They're happy to meet you, happy to befriend you, happy to work with you. And also, if they do treat you bad, fuck them. Seriously, you're there for 13 weeks, 8 weeks, not a long time most of the time. I ignore people so well that I'm like, oh, I'm not vibing with them. I'm here for 13 weeks.
And the majority of the time, the people, overwhelmingly, I've had positive interactions with almost everybody. And the people that are rude aren't rude to you because you're travel. They're rude to you because
they're rude to everybody.
Yeah, it's their own personal thing. They hate themselves or something. They're rude to every single staff member.
Yeah.
It's staff travel. It doesn't matter. They're just going to be rude.
It's just projection.
Yeah, you get that. I mean, working in medicine, you get some of those personalities, and it just kind of is what it is. But as far as like targeting travel staff, I very rarely have seen that.
But you're a guy too.
Yeah. We kind of live in two different.
We do live in two different worlds. On the units. Women understand. Is travel more difficult than staff?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, it just by definition, it is. You're not. At my staff job, I knew exactly where everything was. I could have an art line set up in a few minutes. I had an art line the other day, and I had to ask 3 different people where everything was because it was all scattered. And of course, it's like an emergent situation, and so you have to lean on staff a lot. And most of them understand. You've never been there before. Of course, You don't know where stuff is. So yeah, it's harder because more of your day goes towards just tracking down items and stuff like that. So you get less time to actually to plan all your nursing care, but not horribly so. I haven't.
Yeah, no.
And
I would say it's worth it. The money's worth it to be a little bit harder.
yeah. It's, and most ICUs or most contracts, they typically give you the lower acuity patients just because they don't know you. There have been some where travelers will complain because they give you like the worst patients on the units. I haven't had that experience very much personally.
I get the easiest patients and I'm like, please, I'm a real ICU nurse. Give me an ICU patient.
And that makes more sense because this person just got here. They're here for 13 weeks. Like they don't necessarily buy into our ethos or anything like that. Just give them the patients with a foot out the door.
Right. It makes sense.
Yeah. And that's been, I think, our experience.
Can you do it solo? Is it harder to do it without a partner?
can't really comment on.
I mean, yeah, we can. We are, I would say, the minority of people who travel together. There's not always people who travel together. A lot of times people are traveling solo. I would say majority of the time people are traveling solo. So is it harder? I'm sure it's harder.
Yeah.
You're by yourself. You're at a new place. It also depends on your personality. Are you an introvert? Are you an extrovert? Is it easy for you to make friends? Do you like making friends on the unit? You know, there's all kinds of questions to ask, but it's hard for us to answer like because we've only done it together. However, talking to other people, they typically wish they had someone that they knew with them because it's kind of scary to walk into a place that you don't know anyone. We walk into a place, I at least know you.
Yeah.
So I think yes, it's probably more difficult solo, but majority of travelers are solo. So to say it's unheard of or impossible would be silly.
Yeah, in any contract you go to, typically the travelers on the units are looking to kind of bunch up and hang out just because we all know each other's situation. So you kind of gravitate towards each other. And then there's some places, I mean, we hung out in Wichita, we hung out with the staff as much as we hung out with the travel. We were like all one big group. That's part of why I liked it so much there. But yeah, I'm sure it's a little more difficult traveling alone, but you can meet lots of people. You know, there's meetups in every city. If you're looking for specifically other travelers, there's apps like MedVenture that will group you up and they throw different events and things like that and allow you to meet other.
And Travel Nurse Takeover is another one.
Oh yeah, Travel Nurse Takeover. So yeah, there's a few different services where you can, if you're really looking to meet somebody, you can do that.
Yeah. Meetup.com. That's also another one, or the Meetup app.
Yeah.
Is it mentally harder constantly starting over? Yeah.
Yeah. And I think that's the hardest part of travel nursing. Yeah. Is bouncing around, starting over, brand new people, brand new policies, all new stuff. So you kind of got to be okay with a constant low level of chaos. That's kind of the major, if there was a major con to travel nursing, that would be it. It was just like impermanence.
Mm-hmm. Yep. I totally agree with that. Yeah. How much do you make a month?
That's it entirely. Yeah, it entirely.
I mean, I'll never forget the highest contract we made, or the highest money we made on contract, but we were working 48 hours for 4 weeks. It was $9,500 a week each.
Yeah.
I was like, I'll work 4 shifts a week. I don't care. Keep me here. But they cut us early too. So.
Yeah, and that was at the height of COVID. But it varies a lot across the country. It varies with cost of living. California generally pays the highest, but California also has higher cost of living. It's more, I pay more attention to kind of the cost of living index, like how much it costs to live there, and then what the pay relative to the cost of living is. Like we had a contract, we've had a contract for $3,600 in California, which is pretty standard, and then we've gone to Wichita and been paid $2,700, which if you adjusted that for cost of living, the pay in Wichita was quite a bit more.
It was quite a bit more. People came after me for that post, but I was like, you want to know something crazy? I'm making more than you. I'm taking home more than you.
Yeah.
That you say like your standard is $3,000 in California. $3,000 where? What's your rent? I'm still taking home more than you. So it definitely depends on your situation.
And yeah, people love to say like, if you're accepting less than $3,000, you're the reason that prices are low. And like, dude, we're in Springfield, Missouri. Like, chill out. Nobody's gonna pay you $3,000.
Rent is $500.
Yeah.
So please shut up.
Yeah.
So yeah, it definitely varies. Right now we're making right under $3,600 a week each. Mm-hmm. So, and I don't know how much of that is tax free, like $2,000 or something.
Being in the Bay, it's like $2,200. There's a big,
but we're in the Bay
stipend.
Area, which rent is also expensive here.
Yeah.
Someone asked me about LPNs. LPN experience, does it count towards your RN? And I don't think it does. You've been an LPN for 10 years, so you have 10 years experience as an LPN. You also just graduated with your RN, and you have 1 year experience. It doesn't transfer, unfortunately. And I find that stupid. I think it's stupid because I guarantee these LPNs were working bedside, but unfortunately, on paper, it's not going to transfer the same. Mm-hmm. So you got to get your 2 years RN, BSN, whatever.
But I would still throw it on a...
Oh, I would still put it on your resume.
Yeah, still put it on your resume because the agencies won't count that, but a hiring manager would take that into account. I feel like if they knew that you had 10 years of nursing under your belt,
Right.
you're a much more attractive hire
Well-rounded.
than a brand new nurse.
And final pros and cons of traveling. What would you say?
Pros, I mean, the money is kind of the biggest thing. It's been life changing for us being able to get out from under some quasi crippling debt.
Yep.
Meeting new people, I've really enjoyed that part. But that part can also kind of fit into the cons. We have so many really nice friendships, but they're spread across the entire country. And so, at this point in our lives, we've kind of been wanting to build a little bit deeper and have a community of people and things like that. So things are in flux for us a little bit, but being able to meet tons of new people, seeing the country, getting to see all of California and being paid well to do it has been incredible. California is such a beautiful state, and we've really enjoyed that. We've gone on some really fun trips, met lifelong friends. Cons of travel nursing, just constant change.
Yeah.
It's
Feeling
fun
like
at
you have no roots.
it's fun at first, but then not feeling like you're really settled down anywhere. Again, meeting really cool people and then having to
spread
leave.
out.
Yeah, and just keeping up with them. But some of them, we'll keep up and we'll go on vacations together and stuff like
Yeah.
that. Other cons, it's a little bit more stressful depending on how you're set up.
Yeah.
It can be, if you're more type A, it's probably going to grate on you a little bit more.
I don't think travel nursing is for everyone.
No, absolutely not. Some people would just hate how uncertain it all is.
Because routine is somewhat difficult with travel nursing, both in your personal life and then at work. So I would say cons are definitely that you don't get a routine. And I'm not a type A person, but at work in the ICU, I do like having my routine. I'm definitely with you. Making friends is both a pro and a con, because I make friends and then I'm like, I'm not going to be here long, So depending though, sometimes, you can go on a group vacation with them. Like we just got back from Bend, Oregon, a snowboarding trip with friends we met in Wichita and California and all over the place. So it was really cool. But honestly, for me and Jared, pros outweigh the cons. I would pick travel nursing over staff any freaking day. And mainly because it meets my financial goals and it meets my freedom, like my schedule freedom. Like I'm still able to schedule things around my work schedule. And then knowing that I'm here for 13 weeks. So after that 13 weeks, I could be off for a month, for 2 months if I want.
Yeah.
So I still think pros outweigh the cons. But it's definitely different for everyone.
Yeah, and that's one thing that's been great for us, especially as we both are building businesses and we enjoy doing things outside of nursing, and taking a contract that gives you 6 months of runway to really go for it and work for the things that you want to do and your dreams and all that has been a great setup for us. I mean, we'll work one contract, 2 contracts, and then take 3 months off, 6 months off, and we can really work hard on other things outside of nursing.
Yep. It's been a whirlwind, but I am so glad that we decided to do it. Honestly, I just still think all the time of what if we decided to turn around that one day, that we were like, we could turn around right now and make it back.
Yeah.
And we could get our normal, comfortable life back, and we would be just fine. We hadn't even for sure sold our house yet. We could reverse it all,
Yeah.
But we didn't, and I'm really glad we didn't, because we both have grown so much. Like even as individual people, we've grown. We're different, and it's been such a pleasure. I absolutely adore travel nursing and the fact that we have this opportunity. And I hope that this helped you guys out a little bit. I mean, it's a pretty dense podcast. It's very, boom, boom, boom. But these are questions I get asked all the time. So I hope that this helps you guys. And any last thoughts?
If you've been thinking about travel nursing at all, I would say try it out.
Yeah.
I mean, I think I wrote up a blog post on Scrubstr about getting started that has some stuff that would help you just with initial steps, and it's got lots of links in it that you can follow. But yeah, give it a try. Move 2 hours away. Move one state away. Try something new.
Yep. I'm here for it.
Yep.
And send us a little email or DM when you do start. And I want to hear about your journey and your experience and what it's been like. And then also use the Scrubstr app to rate and review your hospital and agencies that you work for. And that's all I got.
Yeah.
So
It was fun.
that was fun. Bye, guys.
Bye.